Wow, that track in France was crazy. And I've seen Ernée before, but I figured it was just that crazy for the Denations. Nope, it's that crazy for every single GP. In the MX2 class, Kai de Wolf had a disastrous weekend, not just a weekend. If you're tuned into the Jett drama and the racism and them shoving people out there, hang on to the very end. I'm going to get through all the racing stuff and I'll cover that at the very end. If you have aches and pains, if you have a family member with severe pain, I'm telling you, try Nano Extreme. This is by far the best pain solution that I've ever seen or used. It's awesome. So use code COOKSY to order your Nano Extreme and get free shipping. And thank me later. I'm telling you, this stuff is that good. Are you training for a specific event and you need to figure out, am I doing too much? Am I not doing enough? But you don't really know? If you've been to your local gym, you understand what meatheads these guys are. They do not understand physiology or training. So where do you go to find the knowledge that you need? Click the link below. Talk to Coach Rob. Spend 30 minutes and Coach Rob will set you on the right program and point you in the right direction so you're not wasting your time. So click that link and talk to Coach Rob himself. Man, I'm so excited to give you guys the new Power Sports XQi3 motorcycle. These things are badass. And if you haven't ridden one of these e-motorcycles, you can go everywhere. And the new Power Sports bike, you can actually plate it so it's legal like a scooter, so you're not going to get in trouble. But I'm giving one of those away in December. And as high quality a bike as this is, they only retail at $3,999. That is so much better than most of the good quality bikes out there.
You need people like me so you can point your fucking fingers and say, that's the bad guy.
So that MX2 class in the GPs is wild. It is very similar to the MX2 class or 250 class that we have here. You have a lot of really fast, young animals out there just going wide open. But Kai de Wolf is the reigning champ, and he's clearly the big dog in that class, but he had a disastrous weekend. The MXGP series is long, so to say somebody's out of the championship this early, that's ludicrous. But I'll tell you what, he dug himself a big hole. He had a huge practice crash, hurt his ankle, then went out there in the qualifier. So the qualifiers the day before the motos, they were worth some points. Looked bad, crashed, had a horrible time. Then it looked like he was going to turn it around and salvage a pretty decent finish. And you know, he's hurt. He's just trying to get through the weekend. For a guy that came in with a 15-point lead to go 5-5, it's not the end of the world. You can build off of that. You get to the next week, you get better and better, but you go and lose as many points as he did, and it makes it difficult. In that first moto, he's in I think it was the second place, riding really good, tucks the front end. Then he magnifies it. He does the cardinal sin, and he turns one mistake into 3-4 and just continues to make mistakes. The champion that he is still fought his ass off and scored points. He got 14th in that first moto. So you have to think in that second moto, he's going to come out and do damage control, get himself a third, fourth, fifth, somewhere inside that top 10 and get a nice chunk of points. Lose the point lead, but he still leaves himself within striking distance. Nope, he went out, crashed again. I mean, it was not a performance you would expect from a reigning champion. This is something you see from a rookie that kind of falls apart. I was very surprised to see this veteran and this reigning champion just fall apart like that. And what makes it even worse is the GP series is long. They got a lot of breaks in between races. The next 3 races, there are no breaks. It's weekend, weekend, weekend. So he's not going to have any time to let that ankle heal. What was a 15-point lead heading into the weekend ended as a 27-point deficit to Simon Langenfelder. Between him and Andrea Adamo, they're kind of taking over. Now, 27 points in the GPs, that's not that big a deal, especially as fast and as many wild cards you have in that MX2 class. That's a pretty reasonable, you can make up 27 points, no problem. But if he's hurt and that ankle bothers him for the next 2 weekends, if he has another weekend or 2 like this one, you can pretty much count that championship out. And the way Simon Langenfelder and Andrea Adamo ripped around that crazy circuit. Now, in the United States, I'm always very critical of safety situations and tracks where guys could go off and then have some sort of a bad crash. Man, this track is built on the side of a mountain. If you make a left turn anywhere, it could it could be disastrous. This hard-packed, high-speed track, I'm not going to lie, it was scary. I thought Paula was scary, but then I saw this, I'm like, wow, I think this might be actually more dangerous. And those French fans, they came out in full force to support their guys. I mean, they were dressed up in costumes and setting off air horns and chainsaws and smoke bombs. It looked more like a Woodstock festival than it did a motocross event, but they turn out big. They are maniacs. Those guys love their motocross and they love their French racers. And you could see Thibaut Benestant, he's the Yamaha MX2 Hope, and he's a French rider. He wanted to win this GP so bad, you could see it. But he tried too hard. I mean, he went so hard into the first turn in the first moto, tucks the front end, and just, like Kai de Wolf, compounded mistakes over and over. He rebounded with a decent second moto, but that was not the day that Benestant wanted. He did not. He wanted to leave there on the podium in front of his home crowd, and he's been really fast this year. He's won some qualifying races. He's ran up front. Between him and Sasha Kunin, those two guys, that is literally like the RJ Hampshire and Jordan Smith of the GPs. These two guys put it on the line every single time they go out there, and I'm not going to lie, I cringe watching them ride. It's so fun to watch, but it's also just like, it's like watching somebody on a high wire act. You never know. They could fall at any moment. But the next 2 weeks, it's going to be extremely important for Kai de Wolf to bounce back. That was a bad performance. Like I said, he can have one of those, and now he's 27 points down, and that's a big hole, but for this series, it's not that much because there's qualifying points and then 2 motos at every round. There's a lot of points on the line. But if that ankle doesn't heal and he has 1 or 2 more races like this one, he's going to lose that number 1 plate. Those 2 guys on KTMs, Adamo and Langenfelder, they were ripping out there, and they understood that Kai was having a bad weekend, and they took full advantage and maximized their points. Check out Ride Strapped, goggles, glasses, shirts, just a really cool company. Head over to their website, ridestrap.com, and check out some of the products they have. And we got some big news coming from them soon. We'll let you know when I can announce that. If you're shipping anything, use Precision Transport. That's pretransport.com, a shipping company that still believes in customer service, tracking, and reasonable pricing. Hit up pretransport.com if you have anything you want to ship. Alias MX Gear. They're a high-quality motocross gear. They got their 2026 stuff dropping soon. They're almost sold out of their 2025 stuff. They have some bicycle gear and some other stuff still in stock, but the 2026 will be here soon, and I will let you know as soon as it lands. You're going to want to buy it early. I don't know how long it's going to last. Head over to aliasmx.com. In the MXGP class, Romain Fevre is just on fire. He's doing really good. He kind of got handed the championship point lead when Tim Geiser hit that kind of booby trap on the side of the race that just kicked him over. He had the shoulder dislocation. He tried to kind of manage it with therapy, but he's out for the season with surgery, and he gave up a gigantic point lead, and that just handed it over to Romain Fevre. But coming into his home GP, I mean, the French take this seriously. They wanted him on the top of that podium, and you could see this meant something to Romain Fevre. This was more than just a regular race. Lucas Kunin, heading into the round, was 57 points behind Romain Fevre for the championship. Like I said, it is a long series, but it's not like the MX2 class. It's a lot harder to get guys in between them. There's not all these different dudes that can shake up the points like they can in the 250 class. Lucas knows this, and clearly he knows that Romain Fevre is the guy, and he's got to put him in situations where he has to work hard to salvage points. Lined up right next to him, both motos, and 6 feet out of the gate, cut over on him, both times perfectly. If I'm Romain Fevre, knowing how good Lucas Kunin is out of the gate, do not line up next to him. Do not line up next to him. That is, you're literally playing into the rookie's game and giving him an opportunity to put you in a bad spot. And anytime you have to come through the pack, your amount of risk goes up considerably. With that said, Romain Fevre worked all the way through the field in both motos. First moto, he got up to second, got close to Lucas. Second moto, caught, passed him, and those 2 dudes dropped the field. They were going so fast. It was very reminiscent of what we just saw at Paula with Jett and Eli just going while they just left the field in the dust. But he passed Lucas with about 10 minutes to go, and I thought that was going to be the end and he would drop Lucas, but nope. Lucas regrouped, fired up, and came right back at him and just charged all the way to the end. You could see the relief on Romain Fevre when he crossed that line. And Lucas was pissed because he knows, going 2-1 with Fevre going 1-2, he didn't change the points at all during this race. He made some points on him in the qualifier race. I think he made up 2 points on the weekend. So now it's a 55-point gap. But he has to do more than that. I mean, that's almost a full race. You get 50 points in the motos and then 10 points for the qualifier. So you're talking 60-point weekends. Don't want to fall further than 1 full race behind a guy. It's like I said, it's a long series, but that is a hard gap to overcome. What Lucas does have on his side is we saw the bullet. Jeffrey Hurlings looked like he was back to his old form in that first moto. Hurlings was flying. He pushed Lucas for quite a while and threatened to pass him. And then at about the 20-minute mark, he kind of fell into a pace and lost Lucas, and then Fevre got him, but he still held on for third. But if he can get a little bit better, that's a guy that can absolutely get in between those guys and take points away from Romain Fevre and possibly help his KTM compadre in Lucas Koenen. In the second moto, you could see that Jeffrey Hurlings doesn't have that stamina that he had during his championship runs, and he kind of used up most of his energy in that first moto. He still rode really good. I think he ended up 5th, but he needed one more position to get that precious podium spot. Jeremy Seewer on the Ducati. Boy, that Ducati's looking a lot better. They're really finding something now that they got that first podium out of the way. This one was the best ride that I've ever seen of the Ducati. He earned this podium. He wasn't handed this podium like one of the ones earlier where everyone crashed. He straight up earned this podium. He was the third best guy, and it looks like they're starting to figure out stuff over at Ducati. I don't know what this means for their American debut next year. Will the bike be good? I don't know, but it's nice to see Ducati figuring it out. So what do you guys think? Should Tomac actually consider riding the Ducati next year? Are they showing enough in the GPs to make it a viable option? I don't know, man. I just don't. And I don't know. I want to see Eli stay on whatever he's most comfortable with so he can win. I don't want to see him go out there and be the guy who has to develop a new machine and ride around in 5th and 6th place, battling with guys that we know he's better than. But if you're not paying attention to the GP racing, you're missing out. This stuff is really good. But I sure wish the money I'd pay for that subscription would go to the riders, but they don't pay them a dime over there. All their money comes from their own personal sponsors, but that's a different topic for a different day. So I know a lot of you guys are tired of the Jett Lawrence situation. You don't like the drama. Well, this is the TMZ portion of the show. So if you just come for the racing analysis, you can go ahead and turn it off now. So yesterday's video, I brought up how Honda had shoved out the black lady and got her on the podium or right there with Jett Lawrence to kind of get some TV time. They had the big security guard. Like, come on, man. It was really disgusting. And I had a lot of people say, oh no, she's been there. She goes to all the races. No, you're getting her confused. There was a girl that used to work for Honda a couple years ago who was half black. Come on, guys. It's a different person. This lady is actually from the office. I reached out to my source at Honda, and this is the direct quote from them. This is referring to Trish, the lady who was right there after Jett crossed the finish line and jumped in the camera shot. She has nothing to do with the team. She works at corporate Honda and signs mechanics and contract payments. She lives in Long Beach and doesn't know anything about the sport. Does that sound like the person that should greet Jett when he comes off the track? It doesn't. That's great if she shows to the races and wants to go support Team Honda, but for them to put her in that position for the optics, it's kind of disgusting. So I don't want to hear this. She's been there forever. She's part of the team. She's not. There's a rapper by the name of Brandon Mazey. He dropped a song about the Jett Lawrence situation, and I thought it was hilarious. Yes, it was a bit over the top. But if you don't know anything about Mazey, he's one hell of a dirt bike rider. He was a top amateur, had some injuries, and it just didn't work out for him. But he's transitioned to a pretty successful rapper. And the line on that song that really caught my attention, he was talking about Darren Lawrence and how Darren Lawrence, for those of you guys that don't know, Jett and Hunter have a third brother. It is a special needs kid. And we heard the story, and I had it confirmed that Darren Lawrence punched Jett Lawrence in the Geico rig at a Supercross round, and I confirmed that with multiple people. I also had heard that Darren Lawrence had punched the special needs kid. I never went out public with that because I couldn't find another witness to confirm it. I had one source. That wasn't enough for me to go with it.
I heard your dad's been on your disabled brother.
But apparently he heard the same thing I did about Darren Lawrence punching the special needs kid. So if you want to know who Darren Lawrence is, that's what's out there. And Jett might be the single most talented dirt bike rider that I've seen in my lifetime. This guy, like I said, he not only demonstrated his on-bike skills, but his mental toughness to fight through all this garbage that most of it is not his doing. Listen, kids who say racist stuff, they learn it somewhere, usually their father. So with his dad, Jacob Hayes, Travis Clark, and Wasserman creating a complete storm for Jett, for him to overcome all that, very impressive. Very, very impressive. And I had a bunch of you Aussie guys when this first came out talking about the word coon. This is a derogatory comment in Australia. You're trying to tell me there was a cheese named after it, and oh no, we just say that all the time. It's fun-loving. No, it's not. I reached out to some people who aren't Jett Lawrence lovers in Australia, and I asked them about that word. And what I found out is it's actually worse than the N-word. Over there, the word coon is every bit as bad, if not worse, than the N-word here. So you Aussies who were telling me, no, it's fun-loving, you don't know our culture. Well, if you have a culture of racism, yeah, that's probably what you use the word as. But it's not a fun-loving word and is not meant in a nice, joking way in Australia. I stand by the fact that Honda and whoever had the idea to put the security guard there and put this Trish, this office employee, right there on the podium, you fumbled it. Jett did an amazing job with his, even though Jace set him up with that question, that planted question in the press conference, he still did a really good job explaining the situation, taking responsibility, and then you guys went and totally overdid it, ruined it, and took it away from him. For that, I feel bad for Jett. He's just trying to go out there and win races, and I don't think he's actually a racist, but I do think there's a lot of racism around him and his family. Like I said, racism is a learned trait, and if a kid's saying stuff like that, where did he hear it first? And it's sad that Darren Lawrence, Wasserman, Hunter Lawrence, and all their stupid antics are taking away from Jett and this ridiculously awesome career that he's having. Like I said, he might be, when it's all said and done, he might be the best guy to ever throw a leg over a dirt bike. And it sucks that stupid management blunders are kind of tarnishing it. I wish they could just get out of the way and let Jett do his thing. And I don't think anyone's going to hold, what he said as a kid or what he's done. He was accountable for it in the press conference. He said it. We're good. Move on. Instead, they go and just completely ruin all the goodwill that Jett did. I'm excited to see if Tomac can bounce back at Hangtown. That's his track. A lot of you guys were saying he didn't go beast mode. I think he did. If you check those lap times in the middle of that moto, he went beast mode. The problem is Jett went with him. Anyway, thank you, members. I appreciate everything. All of you guys are entered to win the 32-ounce bottle of Nano Extreme. I'll be giving that away at the end of this month, which is just a few days away. So if you get signed up anytime before May 31st, you will be entered to win the 32-ouncer of Nano Extreme, which is a $400 value. Thanks. Here's your member of the day.